Today I'm going to talk about 5 incredible foods that can actually power up your mitochondria, and I'm going to explain why this matters more than almost anything else you can do for your health. When I say mitochondria, I'm talking about the tiny power plants inside every single one of your cells. These remarkable organelles are responsible for producing the energy that keeps you alive, keeps your heart beating, keeps your brain thinking, and keeps you moving through your day. But here's what most people don't realize. Your mitochondria are under attack every single day from the foods you eat, the stress you experience, and just the natural aging process. The good news is that you can fight back with specific foods that science has shown can actually revitalize and protect these cellular power plants. I'm a medical doctor and researcher, and I've spent years studying how food acts as medicine in our bodies. Part of the research I've done involves looking at how bioactive compounds in foods can actually change the way our cells function at a molecular level. What we've discovered is absolutely fascinating. Your mitochondria aren't just sitting there passively making energy. They're dynamic, they're responsive, and they can actually be damaged or enhanced based on what you put in your mouth. When your mitochondria aren't working properly, you feel it. You wake up tired, you hit that afternoon slump, your brain feels foggy, you might struggle with your weight, even though you're eating less. You might even face serious health issues like diabetes, heart disease, or neurodegenerative conditions, because all of these conditions have one thing in common: mitochondrial dysfunction. Let me explain how this works. Your mitochondria take the food you eat, particularly fats and carbohydrates, and they convert them into a molecule called ATP, which is essentially the energy currency of your body. Think of ATP like the batteries that power everything you do. Every thought, every heartbeat, every step you take requires ATP. Now here's where it gets interesting. When your mitochondria are healthy and functioning optimally, they produce ATP efficiently with minimal waste. But when they're damaged or aging, they start producing more free radicals, which are unstable molecules that cause oxidative stress. This creates a vicious cycle. Damaged mitochondria produce more free radicals, which damage more mitochondria, which makes you feel worse and ages you faster. This is where food comes in, because certain foods contain compounds that can break this cycle. The first food I want to tell you about is dark leafy greens, and I'm talking specifically about spinach, kale, and Swiss chard. These vegetables are absolutely packed with compounds that your mitochondria love. The most important one is something called nitrate. Now, when I say nitrate, I'm not talking about the processed nitrates in hot dogs or deli meats. I'm talking about natural nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that does something remarkable. It actually tells your body to make more mitochondria. This process is called mitochondrial biogenesis, and it's one of the most powerful things you can do for your energy levels and your longevity. There was a study published in the journal Cell Metabolism that looked at people who consumed nitrate-rich vegetables, and what they found was pretty amazing. The participants showed improved mitochondrial efficiency in their muscles, which meant they could produce the same amount of energy with less oxygen. That translates to better endurance, better energy throughout the day, and less fatigue. But here's what I really want you to understand about dark leafy greens. They also contain compounds called carotenoids, specifically lutein and zeaxanthin. These aren't just good for your eyes, although they are excellent for that. Research has shown that these carotenoids actually get into your mitochondria and protect the mitochondrial membranes from oxidative damage. Your mitochondria have 2 membranes, an inner and an outer, and these membranes are where all the energy production happens. When these membranes get damaged, your mitochondria can't function properly. The carotenoids act like bodyguards, protecting these delicate structures. Here's what I do. I eat at least 2 cups of dark leafy greens every single day. I'll sauté spinach with a little bit of garlic and extra virgin olive oil. Or I'll make a kale salad with lemon juice. The key is to eat them with some fat, because these carotenoids are fat-soluble, which means your body absorbs them much better when there's fat present. You can use fresh or frozen greens, and honestly, frozen is perfectly fine, because the nutrients are locked in right at peak freshness. The second food that's absolutely incredible for your mitochondria is wild-caught fatty fish, particularly salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These fish are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. Now, you've probably heard about omega-3s being good for your heart and your brain, but let me tell you exactly what they're doing at the mitochondrial level. These omega-3 fatty acids actually become part of the mitochondrial membrane structure. They make the membranes more fluid, which allows for better communication between proteins and more efficient energy production. There was a fascinating study done at the University of California where researchers looked at mitochondrial function in people who supplemented with omega-3s for 12 weeks. What they discovered was that the mitochondria became more efficient at burning fat for fuel, they produced less oxidative stress, and they showed signs of being younger at a cellular level. But there's more to the story. Fatty fish also contain something called astaxanthin, especially in wild-caught salmon. This is the compound that gives salmon its pink colour, and it's one of the most powerful mitochondrial protectors we know of. Astaxanthin can actually cross into the mitochondria and neutralize free radicals right where they're being produced, before they can cause damage. I recommend eating fatty fish at least 3 times a week. If you're buying salmon, look for wild-caught Alaskan salmon when you can find it. The colour should be deep pink or red, not pale. If you're concerned about mercury, sardines and mackerel are excellent choices because they're smaller fish that accumulate less mercury. You can grill them, bake them, or even eat sardines straight from the can. I like to make a simple preparation: salmon fillet with a little bit of lemon, some herbs, and olive oil. Baked at 400 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. Now let's talk about the third food, and this one might surprise you. Berries, especially blueberries and blackberries. These little fruits are mitochondrial powerhouses because of their incredibly high concentration of polyphenols, particularly anthocyanins. These are the compounds that give berries their deep blue and purple colours. What anthocyanins do is absolutely remarkable. They activate something in your cells called PGC1 alpha, which is essentially the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. When you activate PGC1 alpha, you're telling your body to make more mitochondria and to make the ones you have work better. There was a study published in the journal Applied Physiology, Nutrition and Metabolism where researchers gave people wild blueberry powder for 6 weeks. The results showed a significant increase in mitochondrial biogenesis markers and improved insulin sensitivity, which is directly related to how well your mitochondria handle glucose for energy. Berries also contain a specific polyphenol called pterostilbene, which is similar to resveratrol but actually more bioavailable. Pterostilbene has been shown in studies to reduce mitochondrial oxidative stress and improve mitochondrial membrane potential, which is basically a measure of how healthy and functional your mitochondria are. The beautiful thing about berries is that they're so easy to incorporate into your diet. I eat about a cup of berries almost every single day. I'll throw them into a smoothie, I'll have them with some Greek yogurt, or I'll just eat them by the handful as a snack. You can use fresh or frozen berries, and frozen is actually excellent because they're picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, which preserves all those beneficial polyphenols. When you're shopping, look for berries that are deep in colour. The darker they are, the more anthocyanins they contain. Organic is preferable when you can find it, because berries are often heavily sprayed with pesticides. But if you can't get organic, washing them thoroughly is better than not eating them at all. The fourth food I want to tell you about is extra virgin olive oil, and this is one of the most underrated mitochondrial foods out there. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleuropein and another one called hydroxytyrosol. These are polyphenols that have been shown in research to have profound effects on mitochondrial health. What these compounds do is they increase the production of antioxidant enzymes inside your mitochondria. Your mitochondria actually have their own defense system against oxidative stress, including enzymes like superoxide dismutase and glutathione peroxidase. When you consume the polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil, you're essentially upgrading this defense system. There was a study done at the University of Barcelona where they looked at people consuming extra virgin olive oil as part of the Mediterranean diet, and they found that their mitochondria showed improved respiratory capacity and less oxidative damage. But here's what most people don't know. Extra virgin olive oil also helps with something called mitophagy, which is your body's way of cleaning out old, damaged mitochondria. Think of it like a quality control system. Your cells are constantly monitoring your mitochondria And when they find ones that aren't working properly, they tag them for removal and recycling. The polyphenols in olive oil enhance this process, which means your cells can get rid of the dysfunctional mitochondria and make room for new, healthy ones. When you're shopping for olive oil, you want to look for bottles that are dark glass or tin because light can degrade the polyphenols. The label should say extra virgin and it should have a harvest date. Yeah. I look for oil that's been harvested within the last year. It should smell fruity and a little bit peppery. And when you taste it, it should have a slight burn in the back of your throat. That burn is actually the polyphenols. I use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil every day. I'll drizzle it on salads, use it for low-heat cooking, or even take a tablespoon straight if I'm in a rush. The fifth and final food is one that I'm particularly excited about: dark chocolate with at least 70% cacao. Now, before you get too excited, I'm not telling you to eat a whole chocolate bar every day. I'm talking about small amounts of high-quality dark chocolate that's rich in flavonols, specifically epicatechin. Epicatechin is a flavonol that has been shown in multiple studies to improve mitochondrial structure and function. There was a remarkable study published in the Journal of Physiology where researchers gave people epicatechin-rich cocoa for 3 months. What they found was an increase in mitochondrial density in muscle tissue and improved exercise capacity. The participants literally grew more mitochondria, and their existing mitochondria worked better. But the benefits don't stop there. Dark chocolate also improves something called mitochondrial coupling, which is how efficiently your mitochondria convert food into ATP versus waste heat. When your mitochondria are poorly coupled, you're producing a lot of heat but not much useful energy, which is part of why you might feel tired and struggle with weight management. The flavonols in dark chocolate help optimize this process. When you're choosing dark chocolate, look for bars that are at least 70% cacao and check the ingredient list. It should be simple: cacao, cocoa butter, maybe a little bit of sugar, and that's it. Avoid chocolate with added milk because the milk proteins can actually interfere with the absorption of the beneficial flavonols. I recommend about 1 ounce of dark chocolate per day, which is about 1 or 2 squares depending on the bar. You can eat it as a snack, or I like to melt a little bit and drizzle it over berries for a mitochondrial superfood combination. Let me give you some practical guidance on how to incorporate all of these foods into your daily routine. You don't have to eat all 5 every single day, but try to include at least 3 of them regularly. For breakfast, you could have berries with some Greek yogurt. For lunch, a big salad with dark leafy greens, dressed with extra virgin olive oil and lemon juice. For dinner, wild-caught salmon with sautéed spinach. And for a snack, a small piece of dark chocolate. It's not complicated, and you don't have to be rigid about it. The key is consistency over time. Your mitochondria respond to the cumulative effect of good nutrition, not just 1 or 2 meals. I also want to mention that while these foods are powerful, they work best when combined with other healthy lifestyle factors. Regular exercise, especially activities that challenge your cardiovascular system and your muscles, is one of the best things you can do for mitochondrial health. Getting adequate sleep is crucial because that's when your cells do a lot of their repair and cleanup work, including mitophagy. Managing stress matters too, because chronic stress hormones can actually damage mitochondria. But if you're going to start somewhere, start with your plate. These 5 foods give you a solid foundation for supporting your cellular energy production. In my book, Eat to Beat Disease, I write extensively about how food affects your body at the cellular and molecular level, including a whole chapter on metabolic health and energy production. If you want to dive deeper into the science and get more specific recommendations, I'd encourage you to check it out. I've also created a free guide on foods that boost energy and fight fatigue, which includes shopping lists and simple recipes. You can find that in the description below this video. To recap what we've covered today, dark leafy greens like spinach and kale provide nitrates and carotenoids that create new mitochondria and protect the ones you have. Wild-caught fatty fish like salmon and sardines give you omega-3 fatty acids and astaxanthin that optimize mitochondrial membranes and reduce oxidative stress. Berries, especially blueberries and blackberries, contain anthocyanins and pterostilbene that activate mitochondrial biogenesis and improve function. Extra virgin olive oil provides polyphenols that enhance your mitochondrial defense systems and support mitophagy. And dark chocolate with high cacao content delivers epicatechin that increases mitochondrial density and improves energy efficiency. These aren't just foods that make you feel good temporarily. These are foods that are literally changing what's happening inside your cells, making more energy available to you, protecting you from the aging process, and giving you the vitality you need to live your best life. Start incorporating these foods today and pay attention to how you feel over the next few weeks. I think you're going to be amazed at the difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.